think we're starting.
No, it says it's recording.
Oh, good. It's
Hello.
too hot. I can't. Hello.
It is well up. It's proper up.
Do you know what? I learned something this week.
Roasting. What did you learn?
So I've got a little I can't even remember what they're called. You know the little Apple speakers, HomePod. That's it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. It's basically Apple's version of Alexa.
Right.
It's quite a good speaker. I've got one of them in my little shed where I do all my recordings and stuff. It tells me the temperature. I had no idea it did that. So right now, in like where I am right now, it is 37 degrees.
Shut up. As in, like, inside temperature?
Right now I'm sitting in 37 degree heat. I've got a fan, or two fans pointed at me, but it is still a joke.
That is unpleasant. For any Americans listening, that's 100. And we don't have AC here, so double thumbs down.
Yeah, we do not deal well with the heat in the UK. I think it's safe to say.
We're struggling.
I mean, we touched on this last week,
bus
but
is real.
This is even worse.
We're so British, we just talk about the weather all the time.
I know. Every intro is just the heat. Let's do. Yeah, but let's do the actual intro. Let's do it. Welcome to the fucking Tech Dad Pod. That's it now. I'm sticking with it.
Pod, y'all.
I'm sticking with the swearing. And until I get told otherwise, because
the vision.
Yeah. This is what we are.
Until you get told otherwise. Who's going to tell you otherwise?
I am anyway.
This is your show.
There was a whole thing on TV this morning about swearing. Somewhere in the UK is introducing £100 fines for swearing in public.
Really?
Yep, I turned that shit off immediately.
So we can avoid.
I know it was a seaside town.
You're there 20 minutes and down $1,000. You know what I mean? I'm not talking from the 2p penny slot machines. You know what I mean?
No. So yeah, if anyone tried to fine me £100 for swearing, I'd rack up numerous fines just swearing at that person, and I wouldn't pay.
I mean, you'd probably tell them to fuck off.
I would tell them to fuck off, and I'd call them lots of other not so nice words.
Yeah. Try not to do that in front of your kids. I paid the price for that before. They said what?
Do you know what? That's I won't lie. I swear a lot in the car. In general, I get me too. A fair amount of road rage. Neither kid has ever repeated anything that I've said.
Well,
which I'm surprised of.
Maybe I think. You know what? I think the funny thing about kids is they pick up and they know, like, there's some kind of innate knownness that they know it's a bad word and they know they're not supposed to say it. So oftentimes they don't repeat it. And when you catch them, they always say it when they think that you're not listening. And then you are, and you look at them and they're like, I don't know, in my experience anyway. I mean, not that either of my kids are, swearing every other word or anything, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know if it helps that obviously Jaden's playing football in a team now. I don't know if it helps that I literally said to him, when he's in that football environment, he gets a pass. As long as it's not the worst words. I don't know if that's helped. But he doesn't swear at home.
I don't know.
If he does, he hides it well.
You just hear him screaming from his room when he's playing the PlayStation or whatever, just like... I know those Call of Duty Modern Warfare lobbies were pretty intense. You ever play Modern Warfare 2? In those lobbies?
Yes.
The amount of disgusting things you used to get sent by the 14-year-olds you were playing against, but 12-year-olds even sometimes it sounded like. Anyway. Speaking of hot and the state of the UK right now, what's happening here? I think the country's broken.
Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely, the Olympics has been a welcome distraction for me because I've literally had it on from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. I've watched everything. Well, I've not watched everything, but everything's been on in front of me. So I've not really seen too much about what's been going on, which for me it's probably good because it doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's not good, and I think the heartbreaking thing, his parents, it all started with, you know, the atrocity to young girls, like summer fun camps. You know, we send our, like, my eldest is going to football camp tomorrow and Thursday, and you know, what's supposed to be a fun summer activity was turned into the worst day of 11 families' lives, and especially more so for 3 of those families. And like, it's just, as a parent, like, stuff like that. It's not until I became a parent where, like, it's atrocious and devastating for everybody, no matter if you have kids or not. But I think when you have kids, like, stuff like that is just, I don't know, it hits so close to home, you know?
You definitely see it differently when you become a parent.
Yeah, I mean the writing and the deplorable levels of racism in some parts of the country that are being shown is disgusting. You know, this is a time when we're supposed to show unity the most and love, and the UK's just gone the wrong way. You know, small handful ruining it for everybody else. But yeah, as a parent, that hit me pretty hard.
Yeah, it was my my little sister. We was having a family barbecue. She was the first person that had said anything to me about it. I don't know if it was I'm guessing it was the day after it happened. But I had to walk away. I just couldn't listen to it because, like you said, like no one should have to be going through that.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Just love goes out to all those families. No, they're all still reeling, and thank you to the heroic adults that stepped in to stop it being any worse than what it was. But yeah, kind of a sorrow somber note to start an episode on. Like, but you know, I think as parents we have to address it, and you know, it's just stay safe, everyone, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't. Do you know what? I don't even know if the episode goes up or down from there either, because I'm about to mention Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah. Oh, what's he got to say for himself these days? I actually don't. You know what? I have not followed Jeremy Clarkson since Top Gear.
Do you know what? Nothing yet, but it is obvious. So, to all the listeners, we're going to get into the actual topic now. So in the UK, it's coming up to exam results season. So our schools work a little bit differently. I know you guys have high school all the way up to 18. Here we have secondary or high school up to 16, and then sixth form, which is the last 2 years of 17, 18. And exam results are coming out, I think it's this and next week. But every year, obviously the results haven't come out yet, so he's not done it yet. But Jeremy Clarkson puts out a post on X, or a tweet, whichever way you want to look at it. I've literally got like the last few that he's done in front of me. So, well, not last few, but
let's read one.
So,
and
for anyone
that doesn't know who Jeremy Clarkson is a pretty opinionated member of British culture. He was responsible for Top Gear. I'm not sure if there's a Top Gear US version, but he's also done a couple of farm-based documentary things. And anyway, he's a very well-known British member of popular culture, shall we say. Anyway, so his name carries a lot of weight. He writes a lot of waffle in one of the tabloid newspapers here as well. Anyway,
he does. Although, like, I'm not gonna lie, I find Clarkson quite entertaining. I love Top Gear, and he always does this time of year, which I think it probably does help some people. So I'm just going to read them now, and you'll kind of get a feel for what I mean. So first one: if your A-level results are disappointing, don't worry. I got a C and 2 U's, and I'm currently on a super yacht in the Med. Next one: if the teachers didn't give you the A-level results you were hoping for, don't worry. I got a C and 2 U's, and I've ended up happy with loads of friends and a Bentley. And then the last one: A-level results a bit rubbish. Don't worry, I got a C and 2 U's, and I've rented this place for the summer, and it is the most gorgeous mansion in the south of France that I've ever seen. Basically saying if you didn't get decent results, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. And he does it in his own unique Jeremy Clarkson way. Yeah.
What'd you get at GCSE?
I did okay, but I've got quite a... So these couple of years for me were probably the most impactful on my life. Just in terms of everything. So my GCSE results were okay. They should have been better. But then preparing for this episode, I was writing down kind of the milestones of my life through this point, and I'm surprised I did as well as I did, considering what went on. So, do you know what? I'm just gonna go straight through it. So for context, I grew up with my mum, my nan, and so my mum's mum, and my older brother. So my mum and dad divorced. It was either before I was born, or when I was a baby. I don't know which of those it is. It's pretty much irrelevant, but that's the family dynamic I was brought into. My older brother moved out when he was 15 or 16 because of arguments with my mum. So I would have been 13 at the time, I think. A little while after that, my mum met her future husband, so my future stepdad, who was, as it turned out, an alcoholic. So I would have been 14 at this time. The family home that I grew up in, so the only place I'd lived in up until this point, was sold when I would have been about 15, which is year 10 of school, where you're kind of preparing for your GCSEs. And so me, my mum, and Michael, who would eventually be my stepdad, moved into a smaller place, and my nan moved into an old people's assisted living facility type thing. So I think the easiest way that I can explain it is for anyone that's watched Derek, which was a Ricky Gervais. I don't actually know what to call it, because it wasn't really a comedy. It's traditional sort of Ricky Gervais type of program, I guess. It's on Netflix. It's very touching, but that's the kind of environment that she moved into. So the second place was then sold about a year later. So I would have been either 16 or just shy of 16, well into my last year of secondary or high school. My mum and wasn't stepdad yet, but they moved to Gloucestershire to run a pub. Now, I'm not going to lie, straight off the bat, running a pub with an alcoholic does not seem like a sound business idea. I'm just going to straight away throw that out there. But anyway, so from there, I was obviously in my so I would have probably had my last 6 months of school left at this point. So I moved into with my aunt and uncle for the rest of the school year, just to finish my exams. Really, they didn't live too far away from my school, so travel wise, it was fairly okay. And then literally the day after my exams, like I'd finished my exams, I was pretty much told, right, you need to go and move in with them in the pub. And then for the results day, I came back down from the pub and stayed with a friend who I'd grown up with, played football with for a lot of years. I was really close with their family, so they was happy to like let me stay for kind of the week and see old friends and all that kind of stuff. But based off of that, my results were okay. I passed everything. No scores were like the highest I got was a B, the lowest I got was a D. I don't know. I assume that translates across the board pretty much. So,
Yeah.
I mean, based on those few years, I should be quite pleased with them. But I know I could have and should have done better. But, I mean, circumstances were what they were.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
what I think what's important for kind of context for people. I guess we can talk about this. I don't know how it is these days, but when we were at school, we had some of our classes had some level of coursework maybe that made up 25% maybe of the final grade that you got, and then the rest was one day, hour and a half in an exam hall. You know, like those results are so predicated on what your personal situation is on any one of those given days. And I don't know if that's right. This is where maybe, as I understand it, where maybe across the pond we get a little bit better. So like they have like a GPA, right? So all your results across a year or 2 years or whatever count into that thing. And yeah, I think with what you've outlined, you know, your results are, you know, testament to I mean like I guess back to Jeremy Clarkson, and like you're doing all right for yourself, you know, regardless of what your results were. You know, you're saying that you could have done better or whatever, but look at you now. I think future you can look back and be like, yeah, it wasn't the be all and end all, but it does feel, if there are kids that age listening to this, it really isn't the be all end all. Like I mean, that's probably easy for me to say because I got 8 A's and 3 B's, so I did pretty well at GCSE level. But yeah, those exams are not the be all and end all. They really aren't. So whilst Jeremy Clarkson might be a little bit obtuse in the way that he chooses to tweet these things out, like it really isn't the be all and end all.
Yeah, it's really not. Yeah, how would you frame it for your boys going into that kind of exam season, I guess?
If it was like they don't even call them A's and B's and C's and D's here in the UK anymore. It's like 9s and 8s and 7s. It's some kind of numbering system or some shit. Like, so God knows what it's going to be in 10 years time when my oldest takes his exams, right? Like, or his GCSEs. Yeah. So I don't know if it was as it is now, where a lot of it is like exam based or what have you. If it's a day you don't perform the day, you know, you've got a pinch of salt. I think with those, I think what I'd much rather see from my kids as they kind of grow up is a level of application, and a dedication to it. You know, like if that was, I can't remember where I saw this or who it is attributed to, but it was on Instagram or something like that, where somebody famous was like, if you're not trying in school and maths doesn't switch you on, or English doesn't switch you on, geography doesn't switch you on, you know, and you're not trying, that might be okay if you're showing me that you're dedicated and pursuing a passion that you can take forward in life and those skills. So entrepreneurship is another one. Like, you see a lot of these like founders and whatever, you go, and I didn't do very well in school, but like I'm the best salesman in the world, and I've built CEOs of companies that are high school dropouts or college dropouts. Like, very common story, especially in corporate America. But you know, those kind of stories, it's just like, yeah, you don't, as a kid, don't fall back on those stories just because they also had some kind of vision and were driven to be successful in that kind of field, and they knew that that's what they wanted to do. So it's not a fallback story, you know. It's not like that's an excuse to piss your education up the wall. You know, you need to apply yourself and if you're interested in topics and being the best in a certain area, even at that young age, then do that and apply yourself. But if you don't know what you want to do and you don't have that, yeah, go and kick the shit out of your exams, because like you're gonna need a fallback, and unfortunately that's the way the world's designed. So yeah, like yeah, that's kind of my stance on that. And then just be prepared, be prepared as you can be for the day. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of my sorry mum and dad if you're listening to this, but a lot of the study time that I had set aside, mum and dad to be at work, I'd sit there and play my Xbox all day, then turn it off before I knew they were going to get home, sat at the kitchen table with the books and stuff, and when they walked through the door, it's just like, yeah, hard day revising for these exams, I'm going to go and treat myself with some Xbox and just hop back on again, and I got pretty lucky coming out with the results that I did. Like, and I do think to myself, if I had actually applied myself, would I have got even better results? And I don't know the answer to that question. Is kind of a moot point at this stage, but yeah,
I know what you mean. I'm coming at it with, obviously Jaden's, he's going into secondary school, so he's the closest to this kind of age. But I'm fully aware as well that he also wants to be a footballer at the moment. I don't know if that will change. But one thing I will say to him with this is that exams can be resat. You can to an extent, you can redo your education. If he was adamant on being a sports person, these will be the key years. Like I've touched on it before, that I grew up with a few people that did make it professional, so I think I can have an opinion on this in a way, because I've seen people go through it. So yeah, I would say to him, if I can see as well that he has the drive to be wanting to be a footballer or a sports person, and I can see that it's not just words, that he's out working towards it, and because of that the schoolwork is maybe not as good as it could be, I think I'd be okay with that to an extent, because I think, well, you only really get one shot at that, whereas your education you can come back to if you need to. So yeah, I think I've made him aware that, like, if you're going to go all in with wanting to be a footballer or a sports person, I'm fully behind that, as long as you're putting the work in, and then if it doesn't work, you can go back to studies later on. Like, that's not an issue.
Yeah, I think the interesting concept on that side of things. So if you take like the American system, for example, they get sports scholarships to these colleges and university or what have you, but even in high school, there's like, if you don't pass, you don't play kind of rule as well. So there is some level, at least in like on the American side of things, like education is important. You need to pass, or you're not going to get to play, and you're not going to get to excel in that thing. So I do see the value in that. I was thinking about it recently actually. I do there's another side hustle of mine, a personal blog that I have about UT sports, and one of the things I was thinking about when I was outlining a post the other day was, how do these athletes train in the gym, learn the plays and playbooks, and then go and get a decent full-time education? Like, the strain and pressure that must put on people is number one, insane. However, in relation, if we take it like sports, for example, so Jaden or whatever, you look at professional sports stars and like you look at their careers, it's over at 35, 37. That's like the tail end. You're kind of dying out of your career at that point in terms of being able to compete at the level that is required professionally. And what does every sports person go and do after that? They go into business. Like, some might have made their money and they don't have to, but a lot of them do. Especially even if you play professional, but for one of the lesser known teams, West Ham, for example, their players are going to have to go and do something else afterwards, which is why your education is important. But to your point as well, and to that end, you can always reset and relearn and retake. Learning never stops when it comes to life.
Yeah, very true. So how was your A levels compared to GCSEs? How was that transition and everything?
Worse. So like I still didn't do badly in my A levels, right? I got an A and a B and a D. After my GCSE results, that could be seen as a little bit of disappointment. The A that I got was in film studies, and the B I got was in media studies. So it was kind of like, a lot of people probably get rinsed for this in the podcast in the comments because they're like barely courses. You know what I mean? But no, I've always loved film and media, and was super interested in like production and all that kind of stuff. So those classes again, like I did pretty well because I was interested in it and didn't really apply myself too hard, but I was interested in it, so it was kind of easy. I found that easier to absorb what I was being taught. The D that I got was in psychology. I thought psychology was going to be really interesting, but it turned out like to pass the exam, all you needed to do was fucking recite the dates and the names of like studies that they did 150 years ago, and it was just like, that doesn't interest me, like I'm not, like my brain doesn't work that way. So the course in of itself wasn't what I was expecting it was going to be, and that just like switched me off. I didn't really apply myself there, and the result shows. I was, by the end of my A levels, I was so done with education. Like, so that was 2012, and that was around the time, or the kind of time. This probably still happens, but everybody, even back then, was just like, your next step is university, your next step is university. And I walked into the careers office and they're like, where do you want to go to university? And I was like, I'm fucking going to university. You must be out of your mind. I want to go do something else. So that was like my last 2 years, like my senior year of high school, or A levels wasn't great. And I was one of the early ones to turn 18 in my year as well. So obviously you turn 18 here, and all you want to do is go out the pub. So there were a lot of pub trips in my senior year of school.
I wish mine was like that.
What about you? What do you mean you wish yours was like that?
I mean,
what was yours like?
If it sounded like the GCSEs were traumatic, it only gets worse. So I went to college not far from where I live now, which is weird because I'm about to explain why it's weird. So I refused to go to college near my mum's pub. I didn't want to live there. I wanted to stay kind of in London-ish. I mean, I'm on the kind of border of London and Essex, so it's still technically London. So the first year of college, I was living with my girlfriend at the time's uncle in Hackney, and I was travelling back up at weekends. So that was fairly straightforward. Although I don't, like, looking back, I don't think many people my age would have been. I was basically living on my own, which I don't think many people at that age would have been doing to that extent. And then the second year, her uncle sold that house. So I was literally travelling down from Gloucestershire every Monday morning. I remember it was on the first train, which would have been about 5:20 in the morning. And I would still have been too late to make my first lesson, which would have been law. I remember it was law because I obviously got pulled aside and said, why are you missing every Monday lesson? And I had to just explain that this is my situation. And in fairness, they was very understanding about it, which was good. But then Monday evening to Thursday evening, I was staying with my nan in her assisted living facility type thing, on a fold-out bed. So that was that year. So results wise, I got a B, a C, and a D. I did philosophy, law, and politics. So I think at the time I wanted to be. Well, I know I wanted to be a lawyer because I ended up trying to go to uni and do law, but realised very quickly that was not for me. So yeah, it was again. If I like looking back, I'd like to see what I would have got if those years I had like a stable home life. If you know what I mean. If I hadn't moved from the house I'd grown up in and like through that whole time, I would have liked to have seen how well I would have done, because I know
how
it would have
different
been
things might
better. So actually getting the results, so they posted them to my mum's. So the first in the UK, it's broken up into AS, which is your first year, and then full A levels. So my first year, the AS levels, they were posted to my mum, and I was there when they arrived. I remember her like waking me up and like handing me the envelope, and I found out that way. And then the second year, I was actually on holiday with my dad. We was in Tunisia with my stepmom sister. She was living there at the time for work, so we was lucky enough to be able to go there on holiday for. I think we went for 2 weeks, and it was around that sort of time. And yeah, I remember mum on results day waiting for like my mum to ring me and tell me the results. And as well, it mattered because it mattered more because I knew that I wanted, or at the time I thought I wanted to go to university. So in the UK, depending on your results, you don't know where you can go. Yeah. So anyway, I got into where so I actually went to Essex University for a year, studying law. So the results were good enough that I could do that. Did not enjoy university at all. It was just boring. I just found it boring. So gave it a year.
Yeah, I'd love to see you as a lawyer.
Just thought, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to see you as a lawyer. He's full of shit, Your Honor.
Do you know what it was? I remember in my maths teacher in school when it kind of got to the point where they was asking you what you want to do with your life, and I said lawyer, and she point blank said to me, "Oh, you've got the personality of a lawyer," which I didn't realise at the time was one of the biggest insults that you could throw at someone. Like what a dickish thing to say to a kid. You've got the personality of a lawyer.
It's only when you get a little bit older that you understand what that means. It means you're an annoying little asshole. And...
Yeah. At the time, I thought, oh yeah, that's fine. I'll take that.
It's too hot even for the internet.
That's when you know it's too hot. When even technology is like, no, not having it.
Core infrastructure starts failing, and here we are.
Yeah. For anyone that's wondering what we're talking about, Jack dropped off and then came back.
Yeah. There we go. I love technology. It's too hot. We were talking. Do we need to talk more about how you were an annoying little asshole, or shall we leave that section?
And I think we're done with that. What else is there to say?
We think we're done with that. I don't really know. I don't. Oh dear. Yeah, education, further education with your kids. Do you see yourself kind of pushing that, or what kind of path do you see for them? Would you push them down that road if it came to it?
I would never push them to do anything. I've realised, mainly because I realised that they're both smart kids. So, and I think as well because of obviously I've spoken about those years for me
past trauma,
not being stable. I think as long as they've got a stable home life, I think they'll be fine. I think that's the biggest thing that I've realised from all this is that stability for kids is so important. And don't get me wrong, for a lot of for looking in, obviously, my mum and dad were divorced, so up until these years that I've spoken about, to most people, that still doesn't look like a stable home life, because like weekends I would have been seeing my dad and my brother, my sisters and brother. So, but to me, it was still stable to an extent. Like it was stable enough.
Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat. Like I would never push them to do something, and I think that if you're I'm gonna offend some parents here, but if you want your kids to go to university, if you want them to be a doctor or a dentist or whatever fucking flavor of the month it is, and go to university for those reasons because you want to see them be that. If they've expressed an interest in that, then fine. But it's the number one. It's okay for your kid to change their mind. They've talked about becoming a lawyer, for example, like you say, Andrew, for as many years as you can remember. And then when they actually get to crunch time, and if you carry on and they go, actually, I'm not sure I want to do that, I'd sit down and have a conversation with them. And if they don't want to do that, that's fine. Just help them figure it out. Don't think about the reasons that you might want to force them to go and be a doctor or a dentist, lawyer, whatever other thing it is. You got to have a real hard look at yourself and understand why you want that for them, because how many times do you see people go, my parents wanted this for me and I'm not happy. I did this because my parents wanted to. They burned themselves out or are unhappy for 20 years and then actually go and do something they love. It turns out they love hand turning wood or, something crafty or artist, and then they become world famous at what they do or masters of their craft. All of that stuff is okay. So what I think you could really dangerously end up doing is delaying real sources of happiness for your kids if you push them down those paths. So that's something I'm certainly mindful of, and of course I will encourage and support academia and whatever it is that my kids may end up want to do in that thing, and help them in those pursuits, so long as I have conversations with them, honest conversations with them regularly about if that's what they want, that's what they still want, and help them consider every single angle and help them pursue that dream. And if that is academia, then that's great. If it's not, I'll support them to do something else.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think for me, happiness is the biggest thing. If they've got a dream, like whatever it is, at the moment, those dreams are football and gymnastics. If they want to, if those are the things that they want to do that makes them happy, then they've got my full support with that. If it's not, and they want to be a doctor or even a lawyer, because genetically they've probably got the same personality as me, so they might have the personality of one. Just as long as they're happy, that's all I'm really worried about. I've also made a point to both of them as well that like money does not equate happiness and things do not equate happiness. So as long as they've got that sort of mindset that even if they end up working in a supermarket but that's what they want to do and that's what makes them happy, then I'm absolutely fine with that. Yeah, I hadn't planned one, so I've literally just gone on the first one that I've seen that is going to be quite interesting. So yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there. So the title's "How do you handle this as a single dad?" So how do you handle being a single dad and protect your daughters, who are attractive teens, from themselves and guys who might try to take advantage? Yeah.
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question.
I think you've got a sister, so I think just from that you are, because you will have some kind of experience with this kind of thing. It is a minefield, this question, though.
Oh God, I think I want to answer this from a boy dad perspective rather than my sister perspective. I think.
Well, if you want, you could flip it to the boys rather than daughters.
I think if and this applies to I'm thinking about this answer, and I now that I'm thinking about it, it kind of applies to whether you are this person that has asked that question or if you're a boy dad. I think you as a male influence on women generally, and how either your boys perceive women and how the daughters in your lives perceive men. You need to be the example that your kids see from you as your parent. You need to treat women with respect and love and kindness, and model the behavior that you would like your boys to show other women and everybody generally, whoever that might be. And be that role model, so that your daughter, if she is interested in boys or whatever, she will look to you for that positive male influence and will see how you treat your spouse, partner, your sister, or whoever, and the other females that you have relationships with in your life. They will see that behavior, and as a dad, you are the number one male influence in their life a lot of the time. So modeling and displaying that behavior that you would like her to find in a romantic partner or partner from whether that's a man, a woman, whatever. Just saying that example, like I love on my partner, who's the most fantastic woman all the time, like kiss, cuddle publicly, tell her I love her in front of the kids, and just shower her with all the affection that she deserves, and do that in front of my kids, and showing my boys what it is to love a woman wholly and completely is the best example that I can give them, and have the conversations around respect and situation. I think they grow up a lot quicker than we probably give them credit for. So having conversations about modeling and displaying that behavior that you want to see, and treating everybody in the world around you how you would like them to treat other people is super important, whether you are boy dad, girl dad, whatever it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Yeah, I've obviously got one of each, so I've also got two younger sisters, so I've got an opinion. I think, first of all, I think the main thing actually is that you need to trust that you've raised them right. Like, you need to have that trust in yourself that you've done a good job. Because if you've done a good job, then you don't really have anything to worry about. Like, all kids make mistakes, and they need to be allowed to make those mistakes.
Yeah, I think that self-belief thing is a big thing. This person that's asked the question on Reddit, for example, probably has done all the right things. They're just still worried about it, and as a parent, you're going to have an anxiety about a whole bunch of things. But if you trust that you've raised your kids right, and that you trust them to be able to come to you with any problems or whatever they might have, then that's the best thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I'm gonna probably struggle with later on, especially on your point about being affectionate, and because I will hold my hands up that at this point I'd probably say that I'm a fairly good dad. In terms of a partner, I'm not good. Is not good the right word? I don't know. Yeah, can do better, I'll say. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to have to.
I admire your bravery for saying
cross. I mean, like, if I think of all the stuff that I've spoken about just on this episode, it's probably a lot of reasons as to how, or into why I'm the way that I am in certain things, based on those key years. But yeah, that's something that's something for another episode entirely.
Well, let's do that. Let's leave that for another episode. Let's unpack some more shit, shall we? Yeah, anybody listening, this is just going to turn into group therapy for Andrew and I, and enjoy the conversations.
Yeah,
hopefully you take
because I mean, one thing that we've not actually mentioned is that we've both been through some shit, and there's going to be a lot of us unpacking that throughout the podcast. A lot of it's going to be bad. A lot of it, neither of us are going to want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it. And let's see how it goes.
And there's your reason to tune into the next episode next week.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Give us a review on how do the reviews work? Do they say words? Because I don't really want people unpacking my stuff all over Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
I think people.
If it's just a star rating, go ahead.
People could comment and star rating.
Yeah.
Star rating and comments in the usual places. Also, I'm proud of you for actually saying that, because I remember on the first episode you were just like, I can't, or when you said to me privately, I can't do all that like subscribe stuff. It makes me awkward, and you just did it. So I'm proud of you. This is growth, man.
This is great. I mean, after everything I've just said, I mean, me asking people to like and subscribe that's nothing. That's nothing.
It's a big step.
Yeah. If you do want to give any comment though, I think honest would be the comment to give, because that's what we're going for.
Yeah, I concur.
Brutally honest.
On that bombshell, in the words of Jeremy Clarkson, it's time to end the show.
Good stuff.
Oh dear. All right, bye everyone.
Wow.
See you next week.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too, Andrew. See you soon.